So I was going to do a driving video on my 96 Calypso Green Fleetwood because my Fleetwoods are really popular compared to the other cars. I'm not popular at all, but by comparison. But I sold it. That's right, friends. Sold it for $28,000 and broke even. Basically, I tend to put money into cars because I want to fix every little thing or improve any little detail I can. And on most of my cars, I haven't done to all of them yet, but most of my cars that have the air suspension, rear shocks, self-leveling, all of them work. All of them worked, but I like to remove that those shocks and put coilover shocks in the back. I've done it to this car I'm driving right now, which will be featuring in a video in a couple of weeks on my most recent acquisition. I just like the feel and drive it better because the air shocks make it feel kind of squishy, and I like to have a more positive, firm ride myself. Anyway, this is my fourth 1996 Riviera Supercharged. I can't seem to get away from them. I quite like these cars. And I also have, as you know, a 97 naturally aspirated Riviera. The 97 does handle and ride a little bit better. It's got a little bit better brakes. It's got an improved transmission with the 97. 97 had a few improvements over the 95 and 96 Rivieras. Also, the naturally aspirated, because of its 9.5 compression ratio versus the supercharged 8.5 compression ratio, actually is a little bit more snappy at low throttle angles. The supercharged version, you have to get into the throttle a little bit to reap the benefits of the supercharger. So driving around town, the naturally aspirated actually feels a little snappier. But once you get once you put your foot into the supercharger, then you start appreciating the power that adds. I compare these a lot to the 95 to 99 Auroras, which I've had 4, because they are basically the same car, different body shell and different engine. But the Aurora was the first car I owned, which I bought, I believe, in 2006. That was newer than a 1970s car. All my other cars were from the 50s, 60s, and 70s up to that point. And the Auroras became the car of choice for me. I felt very comfortable, and I felt like something that suited me naturally. But because of the Northstar engine, and even though I never had a problem with one, the head bolt coming loose problem is something I don't want to entertain in the future, so I stay away from the Northstar cars. Since the Aurora, I've discovered the 95 to 99 Rivieras. I have the same feeling towards them. I love to drive them. I love how they feel, how they ride. And they fit me naturally as well. That's not to take away my love for the Buick Roadmaster, which I think the LT1 Roadmaster, even more so than the Fleetwood, the 94 to 96 Fleetwoods and Roadmasters, I think the Roadmasters are probably the most practical, all-around best car I've ever owned. But these Rivieras are a little bit more enjoyable to drive. They handle, because of the rack and pinion steering and everything, a little bit quicker response. for handling. They're a little bit more fun to drive. And here we are today doing that. Funly driving a Riviera. So we're just doing this to kind of pass the time, look at some scenery here in Arizona. Taking a back road that parallels the freeway for a while, which I quite enjoy driving here. And look at some of the spring greenery. See how green it is? I know you guys are laughing. This is about as green as it gets here in the Sonoran Desert. But the mountains are pretty nice. Anyway, about this 96 supercharged Riviera recently, I've already done a few things to it. The front discs were slightly warped. You didn't really notice them unless you were coming down a hill and using the brake. So I replaced the rotors, the calipers, and the pads. Now the brakes are fantastic. As far as the rear brakes go, I only had to replace the pads. I put, as I mentioned, the coilover shocks in the back, and I have new struts, new springs, new strut mounts, all assembled, ready to put in the front, but it's not quite necessary yet. It's still doing pretty well. So maybe another 20,000 miles or so, I'll be doing that. This particular car does not have the heated seat and does not have the memory seat and does not have the sunroof like my 97 has. But it has a supercharger. You're 50 to 70 just like that. I took all the back roads so I wouldn't get weighed. Yeah, there's no cops out here. There's a lot of undulation on this road. The 97 would bounce a little bit less than this 95 or 96 does, because it has a stiffer suspension, which I prefer. We're heading east parallel to Interstate 10. We're going to turn around up here at the Marsh Station Road, where this particular road pretty much ends, paralleling the freeway. There's a few hiking trails out here, which I have not tried. This is how you do it. You dig right through the pile of dirt to make the road straight. That's what you're supposed to do. The only tunnel I'm aware of on the in Arizona on the freeways or the highways, other than the underpasses, of course, in the cities, is on the way to Bisbee, Arizona. There's a real nice tunnel through the mountain, not very long, just a short tunnel through the mountain to get to Bisbee. I like when they tunnel. I like tunnels through mountains. It's fun to drive. There's a lot more in Colorado. It's pretty fun. I love driving. I hate traffic. I love persons. I hate people. I think as cars get more complicated, since certainly by 2005 and after, almost every iteration of most models get more and more complicated, harder to work on, harder to fix, harder to get parts for. I think the 90s cars is a sweet spot between the old school and modern technology. And I predict that cars from the 90s, nice ones, will be going up in value in the next 10 years, more so than they have already. For people who love cars and don't mind doing some work on them or keeping them nice, I think the 90s cars will probably be a very valuable decade in cars and music. Bring back the CD. I guess they're coming back again. That's what everybody says on YouTube anyway. Modern LPs are mastered from digital files anyway, so you know, what's the point? So you might as well buy a CD. Of course, brick walling is easy to do with a digital file on CDs. You really can't brick wall a LP. There are physical limitations to that. So that's one reason why even modern LPs can sound better than a CD. They have less dynamic range potential, LPs, but they also will not allow for high compression either. Whereas CDs could have 80 decibels or more of dynamic range, but many of them are brick walled to have maybe 5 or 10 decibels of dynamic range, which sounds good on your earbud, but it sounds really crappy on your home stereo. We're going to turn around up here. It might be a good spot to make our exterior video. Yeah, we'll do it here. You see I-10 down there. I don't drive on dirt roads, I'm sorry. Make a little turn here. It's kind of beautiful out in the mountains here. It's a very windy day, but we got a little bit of cloud cover.
Probably our last cool day for a while.
Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be a little cooler, but be the last one.
Okay. Let's do the other video.
Okay, now we're driving westbound, parallel to I-10. Hope you enjoyed the trains. Nice day today. What is it, May 4th?
Yep.
2025.
Star Wars freaks come out. May the 4th be with you.
It's only 74 degrees, which normally would be, well, the normal average I think is 85. And then by, I think it's Friday. Today's a Sunday. I think by Friday, it's supposed to be 100 degrees. So, don't like it. I like to be comfortable. I don't know why that is. I'm a creature of comfort. But as you get older, it's not so much comfort you seek, but lack of pain that you seek. So when I first moved to Arizona from Wisconsin, I've lived in a few other places as well between, but it took a lot for me to get used to the scenery. The Sonoran Desert is an acquired taste. It's not like there's beautiful maple, elm, and oak trees everywhere. A lot of scrubby shrubbery and a lot of brown, a little less green. Of course, this right here, this area we're going through right now, wouldn't be the most beautiful roadside area I've ever seen. When you drive through the areas that have saguaro cactus, that can be quite stunning. And of course, the mountains I always love. So I'll have. Can you see that building way up there? We'll go through this again here. Up there on the hill, there's a white building. Not that one. That's a trailer house. Let's see if we can, yeah, anyway. That's okay. There's a person who moved a castle from Germany out here a long time ago. I don't know if we'll ever get a shot at it again. I kind of like this look. This kind of reminds me of Wisconsin, where you drive through like a tunnel of trees. These are mesquite trees. What a messy tree they are. This is open range. It's possible, and I have on occasion come across a cow or a bull standing in the middle of the road. And I don't know why they're standing in the middle of the road, because there's no grass here on the road. So, nothing for them to eat on the road. I took a picture of that castle for your mom from a distance because she loves castles at the time. Got Randy's telescopic lens to get as close as possible to it. Maybe, here it is, right there. To find a butterfly with. Here we got an interesting situation. We got a bicycle and two motorcycles. Kind of reminds me of the beginning of the movie Lawrence of Arabia. So this is Interstate US 80 we're on. It's a historic highway. US 80 to be as well traveled, or if not more well traveled, as Route 66. Route 66 intermittently is accessed off the freeway along its former route. Occasionally you can get off the freeway and travel bits of Route 66. The same is true for US 80, but less so now. Very few areas can you drive on US 80. And in California, Interstate 8 has pretty much taken up that entire route. But here in Arizona, you get a little taste of it. I believe it went all the way from, it was longer than Route 66. And I believe it went all the way, if I remember right, all the way from Georgia, all the way to California. I may be wrong. You can Google it. But watch out, if you Google too much, you get googly eyes. Don't want those. Used to say that you sit too close to the TV set, it'll hurt your eyes. And that was true. Same thing with looking at your screen too much. Not good for your eyes. So if you Google a lot, you get googly eyes. That's just the way it is. You want to wear your blue blockers when you're on the computer a lot. Don't get your blue blockers from Temu though. They're junk. They don't work.
Hashtag not sponsored.
guess the tariffs are making T-Muse expensive now. It's like, I guess that's, if anything that Trump has done that has been wonderful, is making T-Muse more expensive. Keep that junk off my counter, please. I actually bought a micrometer from T-Muse, and I'm not using it for machining purposes, but sometimes you just want to measure, say, since I work in cars, the diameter of an anti-sway bar or something. It's close enough for that, you know. So I'm not like Bicycle Garage. I don't go out and find junker that barely gets you home, and he has to work on to get himself home, and then fix all the problems well enough to sell a junky looking car that is at least now reliable to people who you know, that market. He's a pretty smart guy. He does the world a service. He puts older cars back in service. Doesn't necessarily make a nice restoration or anything on it, but you know, spend a couple $1,000s, buy a nice old car from the 70s or so, and it's better to have him working than rotting away. And he's got a really nice personality, and he's fun. He actually had a shop in Osceola, Wisconsin, and that's the town I was born. And the first time I saw one of his videos, he was coming down the Minnesota side, headed south. I don't remember the name of the highway, but it goes all the way from Taylor's Falls area to Hudson. It follows the St. Croix River. Anyway, part of the way down there, there's a turnoff to cross the St. Croix River into Osceola. And that was a portion of the video. I was like, what the heck? I know this place. And then a little bit down, once you get to Osceola, you continue east on Highway M, and he had a little shop there. I guess he also had a shop in Minnesota, and he worked between the two shops. And now he lives in Tennessee. But when I saw that video, the first time I saw his video, and I saw him drive across the bridge to Osceola, Wisconsin, it's like, what a shock to see that, you know. I've driven that hundreds of times when I was young, living there. And he definitely has the Midwestern sense of humor. So, and some of the, what's the word I want to say, vernacular he uses, very familiar with, you know. Yeah, I put some naphtha in the refrigerator for you to heat up. My stepmom from Iowa, the late stepmother, she was Norwegian, I think 100% blue blood Norwegian, and she made lefse. It's kind of like a tortilla, but it's made out of potatoes. You can eat them as a staple. Since I'm a sugar addict, I like to put butter, cinnamon, and sugar on them. Oh my God. So that's enough about me. What about you? Put some comments on there. Tell me some of your experiences, where you've lived, what you've done, where you've driven. Try to keep it somewhat car related. I'd like to hear from you. Have any questions or comments? I appreciate it. If you're offended by any of my jokes, let me know. I'll do them again, just for you. I like to keep my audience offended, on their toes. So, you want to desensitize these people who get offended easily. Tough them up a little bit. Gotta put a thick skin on so you get through life. You don't want to break down and cry every time you don't win a trophy. Failure is the root of success. And I mean that. It's true. You learn when you fail. You don't learn much when you succeed. Of course, if you don't take advantage of what you learned when you failed, you'll never succeed. I mean, look at me. I got a 1996 Riviera. If that's not success, I don't know what the hell is. If you want to be like me, look like the Deadpool guy driving a 29-year-old car, don't smoke, don't drink, don't take drugs, and make sure you change your whale oil in your supercharger. Don't get any on you though. The sharks will be attacking you. Yeah, the last thing you want to do when you go to the beach is rub that whale oil all over you. It might keep you from sunburn, but makes the shark's saliva flow. You never know when a shark's saliva is flowing. It kind of mixes with the salt water. You don't know for sure, but you don't want to find out either. So you can tell I don't take drugs. I don't have the stream of consciousness joke thing going on. I'm a straight shooter. I always make sense. In fact, when I was in high school, everyone thought I was on drugs. They tried to sell me drugs. They thought for sure I was high. You can rest and enjoy the rest of the ride without having to hold that camera. I think we got enough.